Today is June 15th, 2021. Yesterday was a very important day in West Virginia. We had two special guests along with a bunch of people. There was a big rally yesterday rather, for the Poor People's Campaign as well as for the People's Act. There's a big protest going on in reference to Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, as he has chosen not to vote in favor of the Voters' Rights Act, $15 an hour, and other things. Um, Also, again, they have marched to his office at the Lottery Building in Charleston, West Virginia, and we had an interview with Reverend Barber as well as Miss Pam Garrison. This is our voice.
Yeah, it's repairs of the breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, along with Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, who's here to my left. And we accepted an invitation. We want everybody to come in. Bring everybody in. We've got national media here because we said it's time for them to hear from West Virginia.
Sir.
I want to lay out a foundation, and then we're going to call up speakers. First from the state, we ask everybody to pay attention. When they're speaking, give applause, but when they're, if you agree, but let's not talk while they're speaking, because you want to be heard, we got to respect each other. Is that right? Amen. Why are we here today? The question is to ask the question that miners asked in the 1920s. Simple question, song they wrote about it. It was, which side are you on? That's the question for Joe Manchin. Which side on your own? And we want to be clear about who West Virginians are and what West Virginians want. Today we are black, we are white, we are from the hood and from the hollers. We are coal miners and poor people and low-wage workers and preachers and native people. We are Latinos. We are West Virginia. And we want Joe Manchin to understand that when you argue against ending a filibuster and you claim you want bipartisan bills, but even if the bill was 50 Democrats and 9 Republicans, you still wouldn't support it. And if you are against the Voting Rights Act and restoring it, and if you are for blocking the For the People Act to stop the tyranny that's happening in state capitals by extremists that have taken over the Republican Party, then you are not on the side of West Virginians. 81% of Democrats in West Virginia want to see the For the People Act passed. They want to see the Voting Rights Act recovered and restored. 76% of Republicans, over 70% of independents. Which side are you on, Joe Manchin?
Excuse me.
I'm here because my granddaddy was from West Virginia.
Excuse me.
And my granddaddy was a Republican in the days when black people were Lincoln Republicans and Teddy Roosevelt Republicans. But when the Republicans ran the country into the ground with the Great Depression, he became a Franklin Delano Roosevelt Democrat. I'm here because I got roots here. But I'm here because West Virginians asked us, Pam and Jean with the Poor People's Campaign, could we come and bring the media to West Virginia? I'm here because we believe that change doesn't happen from DC down. It happens from Charleston and Montgomery and Birmingham and Greensboro up. I'm here because we need a fusion coalition. We need to change the conversation. We need to understand that when you attack voting rights, it's not just a black issue. Race is a part of it, but so is class. And when you attack the Voting Rights Act and attack voting rights and you suppress the vote, you begin to suppress two things that poor and low wealth people have to have in a democracy. Number one, they have to be able to vote. Otherwise, the money rules everything. And they have to have wages that give them a living wage. And Joe Manchin is standing against both of them. Which side are you on? What is happening now is threatening our democracy. What extremists are doing in state legislatures are hurting all of us. And we must decide, now is the time for us to fight for the promises of this democracy. And we must say, not on our watch, not now, not ever. There is no such thing as being moderate when it comes to protecting voting rights and lifting the poor and lifting low-wealth people and providing health care and providing living wages. Yeah. Senator Manchin, what you are saying, this is what you're saying. Senator Manchin, when you are against the For the People Act, you're saying that you're against curbing voter suppression. You're saying you're against making it easier for all Americans to register and vote and cast a ballot. You are saying you are against outlawing political gerrymandering. And you are saying that you are against overhauling our campaign finance laws so that the voices of ordinary people can be amplified and the voices of corrupt corporations and the ruling elite class can be lessened. When you are against voting for the Voting Rights Act, even if you only have 59 votes and you'd rather have a filibuster than a restored Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, then what you're saying is you are against stopping state legislatures from passing bills that are race-based and class-based without them being pre-cleared. Yes. Voting rights is not an issue only of race. And I want to challenge all of us in this country. The Republicans actually want a black-white fight. That's all they want to make folk think that's all it is. But voting rights is as much an issue for my poor white brothers in the hollers of West Virginia as it is for my brothers that are black in the hood, as it is for my indigenous native brothers on the reservation, as it is for my Latino brothers and my Asian brothers and sisters. And especially here. Which side are you on, Joe Manchin? Because in West Virginia, 700,000 people are poor and low wealth. Which side are you on? In West Virginia, 355,000 people make less than $15 an hour. Which side are you on, Joe Manchin? In West Virginia, 46.7% of the census tracts can't even afford water. Which side are you on, Joe Manchin? Because West Virginia needs free and unabridged voting. West Virginia needs a $15 living wage. West Virginia needs health care for everybody. West Virginia needs infrastructure. In fact, West Virginia needs a real senator that doesn't just talk about it. And then, Joe Manchin, I love you, my brother. But you claim to be such a person of faith, and you put your hand on the Bible and swore to uphold what's in the Constitution. I wish you would have read the Bible before you did that. So since you didn't, let me tell you that in Isaiah 1:10, chapter 1, it says, "Woe unto those politicians who make unjust laws and rob the poor of their rights and make women and children their prey." Jesus said in Matthew 23, he said, "Woe unto those that pay attention to all the little details, but you leave undone the weightier matters of the law, which is justice and fairness and love." Which side are you on, Joe Manchin? Joe Manchin, you say you're against closing the filibuster. And you say you want to preserve it because Senator Byrd taught you that. Well, first of all, when Senator Byrd used the filibuster in the 60s, he repented of that because he was on the wrong side of the law and history. And then Senator Byrd wrote that he didn't agree with this kind of filibuster now, where you have these coward politicians. They won't go to the floor like they used to. They won't argue all night and pull out the cots. No, they just want to say, well, you don't have 60 votes. And Senator Byrd was against that. He said that kind of filibuster damaged the democracy. In fact, let me tell you what he said, since you want to quote him, Senator Manchin. He said the challenges before our nation are far too grave and too numerous for the Senate to be rendered impotent to address them. Then Senator Byrd said a true filibuster is a fight, not a bluff. He said you have to have extended time on the floor. You got to have strength. You have to have arguments. You have to have stamina. But what we have today is the coward politicians using a so-called filibuster to keep the nation from moving forward. And we must say, not on our watch. This ain't no filibuster. This is what Dr. King called interposition and nullification. That's what it is. This is those who would rather serve the U.S. Chamber of Commerce than serve the people of West Virginia. This is those who would rather serve the wealthy of this nation than care about the poor and low-working wage people of every race, creed, and color. And so I'm here today because I believe West Virginia has some good news for the nation. I believe you mess around and wake up a mountaineer, you got hell on your hand. I believe West Virginians are tired now. Tired of him standing before national cameras saying he's doing this because this is what y'all want. That's what he said. Well, you got the national media here today. I want you to tell them the truth. Because your own motto says what? Mountaineers are what? Well, why is he locked down by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce? Why is he locked down by the Koch brothers? That's the question. Is he really being a mountaineer? Is he really acting like a West Virginia progressive? I heard about West Virginia. Back in the 1920s and 30s, West Virginia took on the bosses. Didn't they do it? Somebody tell me. My granddaddy was a coal miner. He stood beside other white coal miners that took on those that would take their wages. And so it's time to shine a light on the nation. It's time to say it, and that's why I want to announce today, we put out a letter and over 1,000 clergy have already signed it against the What Mansion is doing. On June 21st, we're having a mass Poor People's and Low-Wage Workers Assembly Moral March on Washington virtually. And West Virginia will be speaking, and we're launching 365 days towards a mass Poor People's Assembly, Low-Wage Workers Assembly, and Moral March on D.C. in 2022. And I know West Virginia will be there. And on June the 23rd, I need to know how many of you all, if we put the buses up, will go to D.C. and march on the Russell Building on June 23rd. Mansion ought to meet with you. Not people talking for you, but you yourself. Not only that, we think it's time to write Coach Savion of Alabama and Jerry West, because they endorsed him and said he loves and works for the people of West Virginia. Well, we need to tell him, you know, he's not listening to your endorsement. And how are you going to go into houses of poor black families and poor white families and recruit them to play on a football team while you're supporting a senator that's trying to take wages, block wages and voting rights from those same poor families? Come on, talk to me, somebody. And so as I take the leave of this podium and call on the first speaker, just know this, nation. We ain't in this heat to play. That's right. Am I right about it? We're not in these streets to play. We are here to bring street heat and moral heat to the legislative process. The voices of the people in West Virginia will be heard. We are non-violent, but we ain't playing. We will fight for the soul of this democracy because wages are at stake, infrastructure is at stake, voting rights are at stake, and we will fight for this democracy. Which side are you on, Joe Manchin? Which side are you on? Because if you're not on the side of truth, and on the side of justice, and on the side of living wages, and on the side of health care, and on the side of infrastructure, and on the side of voting rights, you just picked the wrong fight with the wrong people, because we're going to fight till hell freezes over and then fight on the ice. Now let's hear from West Virginia, Pam Garrison, coming to the mic. Come on, Pam.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Tribe Chair of the West Virginia Poor People's Campaign. We invited Reverend Barber, Reverend Liz, our Poor People Campaign brothers and sisters, all of our West Virginians and the nation to join us. To dispute the lies, the propaganda, the conspiracy theories that has been played on our people. That's right. We know what's right. We know what's wrong. We've got morals. And this is how we want our country ran. We have heard Senator Manchin and Senator Capito, and we figured out their strategy, people. This ain't a policy. This is a strategy being played on us. And the American people has been played for gullible fools we have. And it's time that we woke up. And it's time we woke our fellow Americans up. Before it's too late. Before our democracy's gone and all we've got's a shell of a democracy only in a name. We've got what authoritarian democracies has got. Is that what we're going to leave our kids and our grandkids? This is their strategy, people. I heard it out of their own mouths. We're complicit. We're content. We're happy to have low wages and be in poverty. Oh, we're just thrilled to death. That we don't want democracy, that we're asleep. I've heard of this sleeping giant, people. It's time we woke this sleeping giant up. Now, we've heard their side. I've brought everybody here to hear our side. We're not going to be silent anymore. I wrote a speech out. But then the Spirit usually gets me, and I usually go right off of it and go right where the Lord wants me to go. So y'all just have to bear with me here for a minute. Okay, we've heard the bipartisanship.
Sir.
And that's fine.
Hello.
When there's really people that are wanting to accomplish something. Not just one side block it all, and the other side say, well, that's okay. Ain't nothing we can do about it. You know, well, if they'd read the Poor People's Campaign's Third Reconstruction, we got all kinds of solutions in there for these problems. So we presented it to them. Every one of our representatives here in West Virginia told us no. We're not going to consider policies for the poor, the underprivileged, the underprivileged, the suffering, our vets. No. We're not going to think about them before we make a policy decision. And that's all our resolution was asking them, was to have our policies made with morals, dignity, democracy, the common good for the people. Not red, not blue. We are red, white, and blue. And this is red, white, blue issues. Here at the Poor People's Campaign, we are an army of poor, low-wage, high-moral people. Yes. And we want you to join us because we need every American to fight this tyranny we're seeing. If we want to hold our democracy, people, it's going to take us all. It's going to join us.
That's right.
Join us. Join some good group trying to get somewhere and move us forward, not staying in the same old falling down infrastructure that we've got and being told there's nothing we can do about it.
That's right.
But we watch third world countries have the biggest modernist state infrastructure there is. Wonder how they do it. The Poor People's Campaign, we are an unsettling force. A new unsettling force. And all we have to hold us is our chains. So people, I want to ask you, are you ready to lose the chains? Are you ready to lose the chains, West Virginia? Let America know what our senator says is not true. These chains are coming off. If we've got, like the Reverend Barber said, if we've got to fight to the bitter end, we are here for it. West Virginia mountaineers are always free, and we're going to stay that way.
Yeah! Say the chains have come off, and the truth must come out.
That was yesterday, taking place at Magic Island Park. Again, two powerful speeches yesterday. Plus, it was along with other speakers in presence as well. Again, this is about a protest to send a message to Senator Manchin that he needs to vote for H.R. 1, as well as vote for the Voters' Rights Act, as well as vote for the $15 an hour bill, and also let's end the filibuster. As you all know, Senator Manchin, he does have a little history here And of course, going back to when he was, I'm sorry, take it back, when Trump first took office, Senator Manchin was one Democrat who signed off on the repeal of the anti-auto discrimination rule, again, under the Trump administration. Every Republican signed off, including Shelley Moore Capito, and Joe Manchin was the one Democrat alone who signed off on it. Also, Joe Manchin, he also sided with the Kavanaugh vote as far as for the Supreme Court. There was a women's group here who protested because of the situation with Miss Jenny Ford, the woman who staked her claim against Matt Kavanaugh of sexual harassment. There were a few people that got arrested because of the protests outside of his office. And Senator Manchin came and talked to him, and he still went along with, gave a yes vote to put Matt Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. And now these things right here. Senator Manchin holds the deciding vote, basically. It is a 50-50 tie in the Senate. And Vice President Kamala Harris, she is the tiebreaker. However, at this point right now, Senator Joe Manchin, along with Senator of Arizona, Kirsten Sinema, those two basically are blocking the way from one end of the filibuster. And some have said that if Senator Manchin were to switch parties like Jim Justice, that would give a 51-49 edge to the Republicans, thus giving power back to Senator of Kentucky, Mitch McConnell. Again, it is very interesting how things are going on right now. I did speak with Reverend Barber and Ms. Pam Garrison, and here is the interview.
I'm the host, Ray Whiting. I have a special guest with me in Charleston, West Virginia. I have Reverend William J. Barber from the Poor People's Campaign. I have Ms. Pam Garrison for the People's Act. How y'all doing today? Poor People's Campaign, I'm sorry.
Right there in West Virginia.
I'm glad y'all are here. And again, it's for a great cause. And again, I appreciate y'all supporting this. And again, we have to fight the battle here. I do have a few questions to ask you. For both of you, why is Senator Manchin so hell-bent against the Poor People's Campaign?
I want you to ask him why is he against this great, why he's against health care, why is he against black, why is he against this thing, why would he take all of us to go to city about having good wages and not having health care? Why is he more concerned about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the United States Constitution? Why is he more concerned about
Jump in. Speak a little louder, okay? Go ahead.
Okay. I agree with everything that Reverend Barber said, and we're here to put West Virginia's voices out there. Manchin and everyone else has got to say their opinions, and so we're here today to give West Virginians a chance to say we're not complicit, we're not satisfied, we want change. We want our senator to do his job, what we send him there to do, to work for West Virginians, to work for our country.
Okay. Civil rights have met with Senator Manchin last week, as well as some Poor People's Campaign. You were here a few months ago, and it looks like there was no success.
No, we didn't meet with him.
Not last week, but
and we met with people, and some leaders met, but that's not what he needs right now. People meeting with people, first of all, he needs to sit with people, but before even that, he needs to move. A bunch of meetings is where it's laying in there. He knows what he needs to do. He knows he's wrong. He knows he doesn't know. He knows this is taking his position nullification. This is not even the whole time filibuster. We had to stay on that. This is a way of just keeping it down. This is what we need. Just need for speaking. And that's why we're here. That's why we want to be smart. There might be you might go sit down. You might engage in nonviolence because that's what he was thinking. But with voting rights laws, with the people, and then he says, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to move. Because what he does is keep the quarterback. He likes to talk smooth and smile, and then run out to the camera and say, I had a respectable time. It is not respect when you're nice, but you're still dangerous. It's not respectful when you're nice, but you're still voting this way. That is the height of disrespect. When you smile at me and say, if you're with me and I listen to you, but you still do wrong. And that's what this is 81% of Democrats, 77% of Republicans, 77% of Independents, 71% of West Virginia want for the people, want to restore he's supposed to be the senator here. Right now, we're calling on the whole nation to put pressure on him. We got calls starting today. We want to go every day. Over 2,000 this is just the beginning of the street.
What the key elements?
What are the what?
What are the key elements?
What are the key elements?
As far as
listen. First of all, gives a document. Second of all, it puts love and takes away all this politics. Second of all, it protects things like early voting and same-day registration, and making sure you can give out mail-in ballots. It protects them, and why it's different than the Voting Rights Act, and why both are needed. The Voting Rights Act can happen in states, but that act is really challenging things for it. It's really hard to do it. But all these bills in the United States legislature are already passed, you can't grandfather them in. So you need the people that to clean up the tyranny that's happening in these state houses now. That's why you have to have both of them. It's not either or. And let me tell you something. Now, I got to get off my knee, but he told y'all he waited, right? No, he's been waiting for 8 years. It's been 8 years since the Supreme Court did it. Did he do anything in 8 years to fix it for y'all? No. He said he disagrees with before the people. Well, where's his law? Where's his bill? He can't tell you what he disagrees with. He's just against it. So what this man is doing, and he's leading others to do it, is just game. It's playing to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. That's who backs him. That's who he's playing to.
last question. If he doesn't vote in favor of this, what's next?
What did our foreparents do? That's what they never stopped. They never stopped. When Lyndon B. Johnson said he would pass the Voting Rights Act, what did they do? They went in the streets. They had the march of 7 months Monday. They pushed. What did the founders of this country do? What did the early, what did the Women's Suffragists do? What did the anti-Alabama, what the Alabamists do? What did who wanted to vote at 18 do? In this democracy, we got to fight for it. And so people keep, let me tell you, I want you all to do this. In America, we are the rulers. They are the servants. They are the hired help. We pay for his car and his membership and his salary. He takes from the people what he wants to give to the people. He gets it more than anyone else. He gets free health care from the people. That's how serious this is. It ain't about Democrat and Republican. This is about a moral issue. So what the people do, what the poor and what people do, we do what we've always had to do. We fight to make this nation better. We do it non-violently. We do it in the streets and in the legislative halls and in the court. But we do it and we never quit.
Barber, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, that was Reverend Barber and Miss Pam Garrison. I want to thank both of them for the interview. Again, I do apologize for the audio. It was very noisy because it was right by the interstate. The last question was asked if Senator Manchin says no, if he's still standing on his word right now, what's next? And Reverend Barber said we just keep on fighting. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I will re-air this again on YouTube and within 30 minutes. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. I will have a special episode of Our Voices on this Saturday, a Juneteenth commemoration. And I will air it again this Monday on West Virginia Day. This is Our Voices.